Hi, welcome to XReality Podcast. I'm the host, Dominique Wu, and beside me is our guest, Adele Keane. Hi, Adele. Could you share a little bit about your background with us?
Hi, Dominique. Great to be here. Yes, absolutely. So my name's Adele Keane, and I'm the co-founder of Imvizar, where I'm working as the creative director and COO. And we create location-based experiences and are about to launch our no-code AR storytelling tool, Lureo.
Cool, awesome. Can you tell a little bit about what's your journey of being where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like a lot of people in the XR fields, we never thought we'd end up here. So we all come from very different backgrounds. I think if I go back as maybe far as 12 years ago or so, I thought that I wanted to do so many different things that had nothing in common. I was interested in technology, I was interested in creativity and storytelling, but I was also very commercially driven, and I never saw a world where all of these things would merge. So I initially kind of went down the creative commercial route. I studied marketing. I was working in experiential marketing, which I really enjoyed. Does definitely tie into maybe where I first discovered location-based experiences. But I always had the desire to dive deeper into storytelling, and always in the back of my mind, I was interested in technology and always trying new tools. And so this led me to actually taking a bit of a step into a different world. And I started working for a small film production studio, and we were creating independent documentaries and live action films for clients, and also a lot of 2D animation. So this was the first moment where animation came into my life, and I was absolutely fascinated. I just was amazed by how you could come up with amazing ideas and start playing with the surreal to bring things to life. So from there, I kind of kept jumping down the technical rabbit hole, going from 2D to 3D and exploring new ways to tell stories. I was working in a large 3D animation studio, and we were making amazing productions for the likes of DreamWorks, and things that were published on Netflix. And I learned a lot from the directors and the animators there, which just fed into my fascination for ways to tell stories. And around that time, I actually then went back to study. So I enrolled in a master's in interactive digital media. And that was really where I started to get super excited about the potential of disruptive innovations. So really looking at how the next step in storytelling is going to be in the world of XR, and immersive storytelling in general. And then during this period is where I met Michael, who's the CEO of Imvizar. So I was introduced to him through a mutual connection. And then kind of the rest, as they say, is history. It eventually led me to being here and to us deciding to embark on our journey to bring Lureo to the masses soon enough.
Wow, that's pretty cool. You mentioned about a lot of like animation, right? So what do you see the kind of connection between animation and also storytelling?
Yeah. So I'm not an animator myself. I've always been the on the ideas and organization side. But what really fascinates me about animation as opposed to live action is really the art of the possible. And I think a lot of the time, when I'm talking about spatial storytelling, augmented reality, people assume that I'm bringing maybe a theater background into it, which a lot of people are. But my background definitely comes more from my interest in the surreal. So in terms of films I like, books I read, and my love for animation really comes from the art of the possible, of that you can imagine anything in new worlds. So I think that's really what piqued my interest from when I first started getting into animation, and how that led me to AR experiences.
Cool. For you mentioned like Imvizar, and I know that there will be another platform, called tools for creators to create location-based kind of experience. It's called Lureo. So, can you tell us a little bit about Imvizar and also Lureo?
Yeah, sure. I always think it helps to explain the etymology of the words as well. So, Imvizar stands for Immersive Visual AR. And what we've been doing for the last number of years is creating possibly the best location-based AR experiences all over the world. We create a lot of bespoke experiences in tourism and heritage, so bringing locations to life that no longer exist. We also work with a lot of artists, bringing murals to life or just bringing public spaces to life with beautiful surreal art. And we also do a lot in the employee engagement space. So once again, maybe using offices and turning them into playgrounds for employees, essentially, of ways to discover things about culture. But then also creating AR experiences that aren't always location based. It could be things that you do at home, but still in those ones, we kind of go the extra mile to figure out if you're doing AR anywhere, how can you still control levels of people surrounding to interact with the real world? So what can you do with the floor and what walls? So throughout the last couple of years, when we've been creating these bespoke client experiences, we kept getting requests from artists, filmmakers, studios, agencies, to create work with us, but they were always shocked when we told them how long, therefore how expensive it was. And ourselves internally, we always had more ideas that we wanted to do, but we're limited by the technical barriers. So for us, it was internally, we have amazing developers, but there's only so much they can do in a day. So then for all these other people with these great ideas, they were reaching blockers or just thought that, AR was completely out of their realm because they had never studied Unity or Unreal or any sort of technical tools. So we embarked on the journey to overcome this and to create a simple no code tool, but really focusing on storytelling. So taking from all of the things that we learned in our client work, creating things for culture, heritage, employees, and brands, and bringing that into a simple space. So Lureo has really been the kind of turning point where we're bringing all of our learnings into one place and are, going to hopefully in the next couple of weeks and months start to see hundreds and maybe even thousands of people create amazing experiences just like we've been doing for the last number of years. So it's a very exciting time, and this year is going to be a big game changer for us.
Oh, sorry, my dog was barking. So I kicked my dog go back. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about like a AR location based? Why AR and why location based?
Yeah. So the two, funnily enough, kind of go hand in hand. So if we talk about augmented reality first, um, I mean, it's kind of in the term itself. We're augmenting reality. A lot of people put AR and VR into the same categories, but they're really worlds apart. In VR, you control your environment completely. It's usually done in isolation, whereas AR is the complete opposite. You're very much in the real world, and often it can be a shared experience. So really the magic with AR happens when you're able to blur the real and virtual world seamlessly. So the more you can control in that environment, the better an experience you can create. A lot of our work has been location based, and I even like to use the term location specific. So really we have mapped everything as close as possible to the real world. So when you walk up to a building and look through the window, you can see what it used to look like in the past. You can see characters open doors, sit down on chairs, all sorts of things. And this really creates that hyper level of believability, which is what we're always aiming for. So when we're doing things that aren't location based, we're always trying to figure out what can we control and what can we not control. So if somebody's at home, trying to direct them, okay, well, place something on the ground, place something on a table, and then trying to get a sense of, okay, well, if they place something on the ground, what cool effect could we do that it makes them really feel like the content understands the world? So, maybe having a void open up and something emerges from the ground. So it's always trying to get that kind of wow effect that then gets people engaged and thinks, this is real, I'm in the story, and can kind of dive straight into this new world.
Yeah. So last week, last week, it just happened last week, Meta Connect. What do you see that, for example, like I saw like a blog kind of categorize Meta's smart glass into three categories. The first one is the AI glass, the smart glass, which is it's already released, which is currently we use the Meta Ray-Ban. You can talk to the AI system. You can take photo, listen to music, and the one Hypernova. I think it's called Hypernova. It's pretty much. They say it's a displayed, which means that it's just a UI, flat UI, and you can play around. Pretty much, it's everything is very similar to your phone, but it's display on the glass. And the third phase will be more like an augmented reality, in which like a the glass like Orion. it can understand the world and play 3D information on top of the environment. So what do you see this like a device change will change the way that we tell the story?
Yeah, I think the Meta's free tier of glasses are the perfect example of that. I actually have the Meta Ray-Bans behind me over here. And I got the transition lenses, so the ones that when you're inside, they're just look like regular glasses, and if you're outside on a sunny day, they'll turn to sunglasses. And I found those so interesting because it was the first. So they aren't augmented reality glasses, but they are, in a way, changing the world around us. And I actually found them way better and way more usable than I had imagined. And it was really the whole hands-free aspect. So really, if we look at kind of getting to a world where people will be wearing smart glasses that understand the world around them, I see those Meta Ray-Bans as a bit of a stage one of getting us used to not always having to manually touch screens. So getting used to speaking to an AI and using your voice for commands and having that hands-free sense, which is actually quite freeing and really different to what we're used to. So in terms of even just alone with those like the Meta Ray Bans, that already opens, doors for when you're doing a story trail, that instead of on your phone tapping for the next audio story, it could all just trigger automatically. So then when we bring in then the spatial awareness, if we kind of, I guess, skip past, as you said, now it's just the heads up display UI, which once again is probably going to be cool for navigation and stuff, but it won't really get us to that sense of storytelling until the next phase. That's when really we'll be able to have these amazing experiences where people can put on a lightweight headset. So at the moment, there are headsets that can do that, but either the battery's not good or they're not accessible on all the usual things that we know that everyone's trying to tackle. I think it's really going to change what we can do in controlled environments. I don't see a world where people will be necessarily any day soon walking down a busy public street and kind of walking around in the semi-virtual world. It'll be more in controlled spaces. So if you visit a cultural heritage site, or even if you're touring a factory, whatever it may be, that there's the option to do your, hands-free augmented reality guides. And as you walk around, you can see the world transform in front of your eyes. The thing that everyone is talking about at the moment is obviously AI and how AI is going to interact with everything. So I do think there is the one side where it'll be the set experience where it'll be interactive, but it's set content that, there might be multiple choice, but everything is kind of premeditated and planned. But then with the introduction of AI, things can obviously become much more bespoke and custom. And I think there is a level of personalization that will stay so that, you can say your name and facts about yourself and the content will be personalized to you. But I do think we're probably going to go through a phase of, people being able to alter stories, and that might get a bit tired because then, people, it's storytelling, not the story doing, as we kind of often say. So I'm interested to see how AI is received by audiences, because it may get a bit too tiring that people have to make choices and start thinking of the next step. Whereas I think it's amazing for creators to be able to walk around and come up with ideas and kind of prototype on the fly.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I saw one of it's called live AI, or there's a term for the Arabian display, the hypernova. Yeah, it's like somebody. It's very similar to a long time ago. Mark Zuckerberg had a vision, which, for example, like two of us are discussion have a discussion about for that trailer. It's like a woman and a person who is designing a kind of surfing board and go to Hawaii or something. And I was like, oh, that's probably like a Mark Zuckerberg's like a playwright. It's like the scripting. So the person was the surfing board designer, and then the woman probably is the person who is helping that designer to execute it. And then the designer was asking like, oh, I like this one. Do you have any ideas for another design? And then the woman's display glass, it shows like very similar to Wikipedia just in front of you, because the AI will listening to your conversation with that person, because if you see the trailer, when you it understand who you are talking to because it will display the subtitle if you want. It immediately share the information about the brainstorming. It's like I was like, it's pretty much like the cheat sheet of everything. So when during the conversation, AI just display the information as you need. Yeah, and so the woman, of course, just say whatever the AI display said, and then later on, the guy just said that, oh, I want to have like a 50 or like I want a certain amount of quantity. Is that doable? And then the woman's smart glass start displaying like, oh, um, it seems like it directly texts the production team and asks for it and get the answer immediately back. Yes, we can. Yeah, it's like wow, it just knows what to do and display all the information you need without you trying to do the things. It's definitely very convenient, but I don't know when. I know this is probably like a mock-up because if you see like a Zach didn't successfully do the video call during that time. So I am thinking about, yeah, this types of AI, right? Just like you said that definitely there's a lot of choice for the creator. But I think if you see like a Netflix right now, they are doing more like co-creating the film, right? I feel like maybe in the future the entertainment will be something very similar to that trailer, which is uh, um, the it will kind of detect what you like or your eye. It can detect your eye to see which one you are interested in. Silently, without you even know you choose that path, it will direct you to that storytelling path. And through Gen AI, it will come up with a lot of like a different types of story without you even really have to manually choose. So I think this is yeah, when I saw this, I was like, wow, like what's it feels like it's more for like a senior, right? Like for the senior director, but for more like a junior, I feel like people who just starting their life. And if AI keep displaying things and help them to make decisions, will they be able to make decisions in the future? Yeah, that's like I have a lot of questions and a lot of wonder, a lot of like exciting, but also a lot of like another side of things. Yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think the whole ethical side around AI and even AR in public spaces is extremely important because even though there's some really cool, amazing things we can do, it's also terrifying. And I think the point you're making there about especially younger people today, not being able to not like something because automatically it's just choosing what you like, and you don't get the opportunity to actually decide how you react to something, to have a negative emotion, to say I don't like that or that doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're in stories, that's actually how a director wants you to feel. I've gone to some films where I said like that was awful, and then the director was like that was my goal. We wanted you to feel uncomfortable. So there is that scary moment of eliminating people's choice and everything becoming bland and premeditated. And I think that's something that even within Lureo, we're trying to figure out where AI serves its purpose. So we actually created our own AI storyteller. And the purpose of it really is to help guide people on the theoretical constructs of how to create a good location-based story and prompt them with the difficult decisions or questions they may not have heard of, as opposed to just giving them a full idea and not allowing them to kind of flesh out their thoughts. So, I would love that someone who is possibly a traditional filmmaker could now jump into the world of AR. So in using the AI storyteller, it's not necessarily shaping the story arc. It's not necessarily fleshing out characters or emotions. What it's asking them is, where's your location? What has changed? Are surface reflective? How are people going to access this? If you're having something over to the left, how will you guide them there? And it's really prompting them to think of what the next step is and acting more like a coach as opposed to just, spitting out an idea. And so I've used it on a lot of our projects recently. I often will come up with things myself and then I'll ping pong ideas with AI. And I think that's where a lot of people find it the most valuable. It's acting like this this a bit of a board where we can bounce things off. The danger is if, and it's also not fun if we just can say to an AI, make me a story and it does it. Like that can be fun for the first time, and then you see what's possible. They say, okay, I get it now. So there's always that element of how can we use AI to help people versus just throw their ideas out the window. And then the other side where I'm possibly more interested in it at the moment is in creating the content. So because I'm someone who's from the ideas background, not the technical expertise, I don't know how to 3D model and animate. And I've thought many times, should I go and learn it? I've, done some courses, but I never spent the time to hone that amazing craft. And I don't believe that it's something that AI can replace in a day or two. I know some amazing animators, and the level of detail that goes into how characters move and all the different arcs, and um, that's not something AI can replace automatically, but it's something that we can use in the processes to help us speed up workflows, but it can also help us prototype better so that before we go and start modeling things in 3D or animating them, that we can create quick prototypes with AI. So we've been investigating many different AI workflows where you can just type in different assets that you want, different animations that you want, and you can see it populate. And maybe sometimes something in AI might make it to the final round, and AI is obviously getting better and better. But I think right now I see AI is a great way to help prototype ideas. And also really, something that's really important in my role is to make sure that anything that's in my head is clearly uh, either visualized or explained to people. And sometimes that can be a big barrier if when people say things and then someone interprets it the wrong way. You might do some nice storyboards and people don't fully get it. So the closer we can get to doing that pre-visualization and prototyping actually allows us in the early stages to better understand the user experience, and kind of iterate quicker and better at the start, so we can actually then spend more time on the beautiful effects and really get the artists to spend time in those places, as opposed to a version one, oh, that didn't work, let's redo it. So that's where I hope it's going to really help us.
Yeah, so I do agree with you that by display, letting people to see the visualize whatever you are thinking, it's definitely the best way to communicate. And also, I remember during the Meta Connect, Mark Zuckerberg mentioned that they are developing something that can from the brand to directly AR. So I was like, wow, that even eliminate the time of making it, because it's directly from your brand translated into the smart glass and directly from the brand without even hand, because you see like a hand, you need to wear the wristband, but they are working on it. And I find out that the interesting part is that they are working on the invisible keyboard. So you can pretty much write something and it becomes the text according to the EEG, like the signal on through your fingers. So I also find that it's like a sci-fi technology, because they wanna have like a stealth mode, right? So yeah, during the like 2 weeks ago, I was like in the panel to talk about like because like right now, higher education, community college, they think like a student will cheat anyway. Like there are different tiers. For example, like in the classroom, they have like a no AI policy, semi AI policy, full AI policy. And I think that there are a couple of things in between. And I remember like one of the faculty in the audience seat and said, student will cheat. How can we prevent them cheat using AI? And I was like, in the future, everything will be smarter than you. It's like your glass will be smarter than you. Your clothes will be smarter than you. Your watch will be smarter than you. Everything you wear will be smarter than you. Then are we like, if we don't want students to cheat, maybe we need to make them like a take off everything that you have, like be naked and sit in the classroom and take maybe the pencil is smarter than you. Maybe the air floating. I don't know. Everything will be smarter than you. So how can we define cheating, and how can we learn that is also a very interesting thing because you see like the device becomes so intuitive, so easy. And it understand everybody. So what do you see like how can the future of student learn?
Yeah. The last time I was in education was really just before it was before ChatGPT exploded. There were still some AI tools, and I actually remember in one of my classes, it was about disruptive innovations, and I wrote an essay on generative art and some of the tools that NVIDIA were working on at the time. And I remember thinking like, wow, this is insane and this is so far away. And little did we all know it was about, just a couple of months after. And when I think back to that time, that's when really, I guess the last time that I was writing essays the old fashioned way, when you're looking up different peer reviewed articles and getting all the information there, and AI has just completely changed that. And I think now education has to adapt, like the way when computers came in, things were adapted. So uh, unfortunately for the amazing professors and teachers, they're probably going to have to do more hands-on time with students. It's not enough now just to get people to send in essays. There's still in a lot of universities, you have to go in and with a pen and paper write out things in exams to ensure that you're not using computers. But then last time I studied, there was a lot of open book exams where you could open your book, and there was also open internet exams where you could use anything on the internet. And that was in one of my classes that I had that was on coding. The teacher said, well, everything is out there. So I'm going to give you problems and I want you to look online because that's what people do in the real world. And I thought that was interesting. So it's kind of trying to, make sure people don't lose the ability to think critically and go back to pen and paper, because sometimes if I'm getting all, overthinking a problem, I'll literally put away all technology, maybe, go for a walk, but often also just you get pen and paper and you start writing things out and mapping out ideas. So I think in education, that's going to have to happen more like right now, because there's not, invisible contact lenses that are smart. You can control, you could say to people, leave everything outside of the room and come in here and defend your paper. And the teacher will have to really, really take their time to ask them questions and get into that. Then that's also for people who aren't as good at speaking, will be more difficult. So it does raise a lot of questions in how people are going to learn and retain information. But I definitely think that AI should be taught in schools of how to use AI responsibly, how to use technology responsibly, and learn how to live with it and incorporate it in the right ways, but not let it just be our first answer to everything, because I think we can all say we've probably become much lazier than we want to admit, when we can just turn to AI to do a few tasks, and over time we'll lose our ability to write simple sentences. Much like when phones came in and we were doing text talk and predictive text, and next thing people were like, I forget how to spell certain words. We can see these things happening. So it's a bit of discipline on the human side to not always rely on technology.
Yeah, I agree. I remember one time I was trying to get back from the conference. I just like because my Google Map is suddenly not working. It's not syncing. So I just saw my dot, and I was trying to go home. It's like an hour away, and I was like, oh, it's in Bay Area. I should know the road. And I keep telling myself, and I was trying to direct my road to the map because it's not, showing me the route, but I know where I am. So I was like trying to look at that small dot and trying to lead that dot to my home. Yeah, and during that time it was like, yeah, because you see like a Google map is so convenient. I didn't even think of where I am. Every time when I drive, I just really 100% rely on Google Map, but that I couldn't even navigate somewhere around my home. So yeah, so yeah,
That's a really good example. I feel the same. When I first started learning to drive, it was in the era where Google Maps was accessible. So from the early days, I always just put it on by default. And that's the same, even if I know where I'm going, it's a crutch that we lean on. So it's scary to see that then the younger generations, if they're growing up with all of these AI tools available, they might think, well, why would I bother spending 4 years to learn 3D and animation when somebody can do it automatically? And then if humans stop learning the craft, it's going to have a big impact on the future. So it's finding that balance of how we can educate people on how AI can be used to enhance processes, but, really probably reminding people how important it is to have the hone in on a craft and know the theory behind things. Definitely anyone who has studied computer science and is going to be able to use a lot of the coding, vibe coding tools better than I can because they understand the engineering and mechanics. I'm sure anything that I do, if an engineer got into it, they'd say, "Oh my God, that doesn't make any sense." And for mine, I'm like, "Cool, I'm amazing. I can do all this kind of great stuff." So it's the same with anything. I mean, we all now can recognize AI writing, what that looks like. But in the early days, we thought, "Wow, I can do these things and no one's going to know and think I'm amazing at writing." And even I think for learning languages, I'm based in France, and sometimes I get really lazy and just translate things. And I know, no, I shouldn't do that because I'm never going to, improve at the language. But sometimes we just default to that. So we do have to take the discipline and say, listen, technology aside, let's kind of do things when we can, and then when we want to, when we're sitting down in the evening to watch TV, say, okay, I'm letting technology take over. When we're putting on a headset to dive into a really cool VR game, let it take over. And if we're on holidays exploring new places and want to try AR experiences, let it have that moment, and kind of choose when we want to allow technology to completely take over and impact our day, and when we know how to say, no, I'm cutting it out.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree because, for example, just like you said that the learning language part, right? For currently Meta Ray-Ban display, it has the translation function. So, for example, if you speak French to me, I can just like look at you and there's subtitles, and also there's like a live translation. Not only I can see the English from the translation, the subtitle, but also Ray-Ban can read it as English to me. So yeah, so a lot of people said that Duolingo. I know that recently we saw that Duolingo lay off a lot of people just to say that they want like a AI automation. However, there are a couple of news said that Apple is kicking Duolingo out because a lot of translation, live translation. And I would say that Ray-Ban, you see, like in the future, if everybody can just wear the glass and doesn't even need to learn the language and was capable to communicate really well, then I think it's very interesting. Before we saw that, you see, like a learn language, right? We learn coding, right? We learn art. Yeah, and in Shanghai, they have like a full AI hospital. We saw like nursing or like a healthcare is the one that you need the human interaction. But right now, Shanghai has the full AI, and it's just like a 9.9 yen. 9.9 yen is like a nothing in USA compared with such a high cost in healthcare fee. So I can see like in the future, maybe, only super rich can afford real human service. And the majority of people who can go to those like a $9 and you can get all your disease killed. So I think this is a very interesting perspective for AI. Yeah.
All the sci-fi films we've been watching for years are becoming our reality.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you think of, for example, like a creator economy and democratization? For example, you mentioned that Lureo is for the creators. What do you see? It helps creators to create, for example, like a gig economy or more like creator economy. What do you see Lureo can help?
Yeah, the creator economy is, I mean, absolutely massive in the world at the moment. And that's really a huge market that Lureo can speak to. So once again, it's these creative people who have amazing ideas, know how to tell stories, either have an audience or searching for one and are looking for new ways to get people's attention and tell their stories. So for example, up until, well, I don't know, the last 10, 15 years, video editing and filming hasn't ever been more popular thanks to YouTube. So I think that we're really going to see the same now. with the launch of Lureo, the democratization of XR, and how it's going to be much easier for people to actually say, you know what, I can create these experiences in the real world. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot of the big YouTubers trying new mediums, so they could say like, you know, hey guys, we have just launched a new location-based AR trail in your city. Whoever completes it first wins this competition, or go embark on this trail and collect all these items. And I think it's going to really open up a lot of new doors. In terms of then brands, it has a huge potential. So really for creators to be able to work with brands and once again try new mediums. We've seen in the last couple of years, maybe 2, 3 years, a huge rise in the fake out of home videos, the foo videos, where essentially it's the CGI version of AR. So we see these videos on social media, you're scrolling through it and then you see an iconic landmark, but something surreal has happened to it. So there could be a giant mascara that's going down the street amongst the buses, or a big handbag that falls from the sky, and it grasps people's attention because they initially think the video is real, and then they see something that they weren't expecting. And that's really kicked off and got people's interest. And we see a lot of people in the creator economy then mimicking these types of videos. So with Lureo, one of the areas is that people can take this a step further. So actually, why just have it as a moment that lives online for a fleeting second, but actually create a moment? So have it that people can go to the location and all see this come to life. So I think, yeah, it's going to be a great way for people working with brands, people who already have a big audience, but also for a lot of people who are in filmmaking. So I've had a lot of people reach out to me over the last few years who work in filmmaking and are intrigued to try AR as a new medium, especially people who are into maybe documentary filmmaking, and they're into, reimagining things in the past and historical storytelling. So a lot of the work that we've done in the historical spaces piques their interest. And one of the really kind of easy ways for filmmakers to get into location-based AR with Lureo is actually through using things like old photographs. So then you don't have to go down the route of, well, I don't know how to, model things in 3D, or I don't have a budget for a 3D artist. You can actually take your old photographs, use AI to enhance them if you like, or to animate them a bit, or create parallax effects. And it's a really great gateway for filmmakers to start to tell stories. And I think even just in the XR space in general, I've seen some beautiful work that's been done with 2D assets essentially. So it can actually be quite an easy way for people to enter into the world of location-based AR before having to get into that next step of, okay, now how do I get 3D models in there? So I hope to see a lot of filmmakers get into the space, and then, kind of who knows where it'll go from there.
Yeah, I think for creators, definitely those like no code tools really help them to create faster and release faster. And for sure that the no code tools and with AI enhanced, it will really speed up the creators' creation. Yeah. So what do you see, for example, like the spatial AI or XR AI in the future? For example, like when we see, for example, Android XR, right? And Vision Pro, I know Apple is always behind, but they are trying to do their Apple AI, and also like they are catching up. And also Meta is, I would say, Snapchat, right? They have like the tool called Lens Studio. I think that they are pretty advanced compared with like a Meta. I've because they've already launched their AR glass. And what do you see? You see like a lot of big companies is trying to catch up more like a developing like a spatial AI. What do you see this spatial AI can help with more like a storytelling in the future, like 5 years? Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so I think it's going to be being able to scale stories to more locations. So, one of the ideas that I've talked about with my team for the last few years is, could we create a story that can take place in multiple locations? So, for example, we could create a murder mystery trail that can be launched in multiple cities, but it needs to have context to the space. So, how could we shape the story around it? So it could be that you pick out key things that are in every city, like, for example, a police station, a park, a bench, find different items that all cities have in common and craft the story around that. So then when spatial AI can come into it, is that can have the context of the world automatically. So you can have the story there, spend the time on that. And then when people arrive at these different locations, they, put on their smart glasses and it understands fully where they are. So the story will make sense without the creator having to manually set up the story in each location. So that way you could have the whole world embarking on a quest. So if some new film was being launched that was tied to a murder mystery, you could say, well, that's actually created as a live event in the world and have everyone going around and explore at the same time. A bit like what Pokemon Go was doing in the early days. It's really the essence of that, of trying to get people together, but having things happen in multiple cities at the same time, I think would be really cool. I think as well, then what we touched on earlier as well with storytelling and spatial AI, I definitely think there's the kind of the fine line that we need to be careful of allowing the audience to have too much choice and then them being overwhelmed by the choice, and then it's not a story at all anymore, and they're in a cool moment, and if that's what you want to do, then that's okay. But there might be two separate moments or two separate journeys of how much do you want to be able to influence this story or not. So like, I think it would be so cool if you could have, and then this wouldn't necessarily be a story, but if you could put on a headset, maybe some form of like a haptic features as well, and in a controlled environment, pretend you're a superhero. So kind of, I guess what inspired me in that was, there's an amazing game on the Apple Vision Pro by Marvel called What If, and I think it's obviously amazingly high quality being on the Vision Pro made by Marvel, but the hand tracking is phenomenal because it makes sense when you hold up your arm and do certain movements. It's a shield or you're casting spells, and it makes sense to use your arms in that way. And I personally am into the superhero universe, and for the first time, I actually felt, oh, this is really exciting. I actually feel like I'm a superhero casting these spells. And then another really amazing experience, which I think anyone who's tried it has been amazed, was an experience called In Search of Repetitive Beats, which was about rave culture, and you wore a haptic suit where you'd feel the vibrations of the music. So really that sense of maybe empowering people to feel in a way kind of godlike or something, that you could walk down the street and maybe as you breathe you can see the buildings expanding in real time to how you move, and maybe as your heartbeat increases, the world around you, the sky is changing color, and that you can kind of see the direct relationship between how you live and the world. Things like that I think will be really cool. But that'll be definitely a wow moment in terms of like, doing amazing stories. I think it's allowing people that hyper personalized content that understands the space seamlessly without having to have too much human manual intervention beforehand to set it up.
Yeah, yeah. I think for those like Gen AI tools, for example, I remember when I was watching Mark Zuckerberg super long time ago, he had a demo in Horizon World, and he said, "Oh, I want an elephant to show up in Horizon World." So that's his thought, is that, oh, when I talk and things start generate. For example, when we talk about let's say go to Hawaii, like Mark Zuckerberg's like a trailer is always about Hawaii. So for example, like, oh, we want to go there and get a nice vacation house or like a nice Airbnb, and things start showing up. So my thought is that it's great that we need it, but sometimes over information. For example, like when I was working on those, like going up, going down, selecting like the menu, I was like, wow. I mean, it's overwhelming buttons, right? You need to go up and sometimes left and right, even though it's somehow precise. But if the light is pretty dim, you see, like, because it requires your camera to do more like the depth sensor for your fingers movement. Sometimes it's not accurate, and you can see people just trying to like do this like all the time, and things is not moving. So I would say that sometimes we just want relax. We don't want things to be always in front of our eyes. And for example, if people like, do we really need a menu? For example, like right now we are having a podcast. Do we really need like a million information display in front of us and tell us what to do? Or maybe we just immerse ourselves in the conversation. So Yeah, so it's very interesting that I know that all the glass company they are trying to get like the lifestyle and trying to get us to wear it more. But for example, like let's say a lot of cooking recipe, uh, right, like demos during the Meta Connect. For example, oh, people doesn't really know how to cook, so they just say, "Hey, look at the table, what I have, what types of food I can cook." And start following the instruction with the small menu. But my thought is that, for example, when you are eating or when you are cooking, there are a lot of, like the vapor. And the reason why people get LASIK, like get surgery about that is also like when you eat hot food, your entire glass will be covered with, like a white, like all those vapors. So it's interesting that the technology is very high end, but will people really use it in the scenario that is like a perfect on the trailer? Yeah.
That's really sometimes with the, that we've seen that, I mean, in the XR industry over the years, it's kind of the technology and hardware comes first and then the use cases will come later. And a lot of people are trying to force this all day, every day. We're wearing smart glasses. And I mean, I don't know if that will be the future, but I really hope it's not, that all day, every day we have just 2D boxes flashing before our eyes. And that's something that always makes me laugh when I'm seeing people who try mobile AR for the first time. They always say, let's put a text box here. And I'm like, no, no one wants to see a text box floating in space. So, like you were saying right now, this conversation, how do we want this to be in a headset or not? And I mean, right now I'm sitting at a table where there literally is an empty chair opposite me. It would be pretty cool if I could put on a lightweight headset and just the hologram of you was sitting in that chair. And
Yeah,
you
that'd be
probably would
cool, right?
feel much more like we were having a conversation in a coffee shop if we're both, drinking a coffee and having a chat. And it would reduce those kind of barriers that the technology is putting in front of us. But the last thing that we want is that we're then seeing little text boxes just appear in front of us. So a lot of the time there's too much of the taking what we see on our phone screens and just putting it in front of our face, which, is what you were saying with the new meta glasses. And it's a first step to what could be greater things. But I do think that maybe with all the new technology being released and with use cases, one that is completely separate to storytelling or what I'm working on, but that I'm always aware of is the advancements that it can do for people who actually have impairments. So funnily enough, we're talking about all the extra things that we can see, but an amazing use case for these glasses is for people who are visually impaired. So it's allowing people, and I think that with the Meta Ray-Bans at the moment, the ones that don't have any of the visuals, just the sound, that's an amazing way to help people who have a visual impairment because it has that real-time feedback of what you're seeing in the world. And I think that's an amazing use case for the everyday wearing. But where I hope to see the headsets going in my world is that we have those dedicated moments where we can put on a headset and embark in these amazing stories. I mean, much like the way I absolutely love to read books, go to the cinema, all sorts of media, but it's my choice. I choose to sit down and read a book. I choose to go to the cinema. I want to choose to put on a headset and embark on a story. So that's definitely having the choice and knowing for the next hour I'm going to be immersed in this story and I'm going to feel happy, sad, scared, whatever it may be. So I hope that's where it goes.
Yeah, yeah. Just like you mentioned, visual impairment. For example, like in Ray-Ban, they partner with an app called Be My Eyes. So at the beginning, it's more like a visual impairment. The people with low vision, they use more like a mobile phone app and connect it with somebody who can see really well. And through the phone camera, they can see what they see and tell them what to do. Yeah, so more like Be My Eyes, right? And now it becomes more AI detect. So I think that this is a really great application. So, for example, people wear the Ray-Ban AR glass and they can hear what they say. For example, a long time ago, I invite another speaker, Chris McNally. He is the developer, but when he was born in low vision. So his world is pixelate, black and white. And also there's a big donut cover. It's tunnel vision. So he couldn't really see anything. It's like a big black dot in front of everything he saw. So he said that the most important thing for him is everything needs to be placed in the exactly way. For example, when he go to the kitchen, he needs to know where's the ketchup, where's everything needs to be exactly so he can grab it and use it. However, he said that he also is a developer. Long time ago, he used Magic Leap. He used Unity and used AI implementation. So when he wear Magic Leap, the contrast was super weird that he can see things. He made the contrast perfect for him to see things. And also he used AI. For example, the AI will tell him like, oh, in 1 feet in your front, there's a basket on the floor. So he said that this types of device really helps him change his life. So it's very interesting for a lot of people. I remember before, I read some articles, like old articles, says that, oh, the reason why XR is not accessible because you see like people with low vision couldn't really see things. How can they get into XR? But you see like those scenarios really help people to receive the world and understand the world and help them to access to the world. Yeah.
I think if XR can improve the quality of people's lives, it's absolutely amazing, and it's great to see that in all these technologies that are maybe, frustrating or a bit clunky to use in ways, they'll actually improve the quality of other people's lives in other ways. So it is kind of fantastic to always see the different sides of the ethical concerns around all of these tools, how it's going to work in storytelling, how it'll work in our everyday lives, and then the different types of people that it can help. So there's definitely not a one size fits all when it comes to these new technologies.
Cool. So, what's the one thing that you still like to share that we haven't touched on yet?
I think it's, if someone's listening to this podcast, I assume it's because they're interested in spatial storytelling. Um, and if someone hasn't actually tried to build their own location-based AR story yet, I would really encourage people to not be afraid to try something. I really think that the best way to learn, as they say, is by failing. And me and my team, we've created well over 100 location-based stories. And I mean, through that, we've learned what works and what doesn't. Um, but really, it's getting into these tools and having fun. And now that we have things like Lureo that makes it so simple to uh, create location-based AR stories, and that we have all these, different AI tools that can help with assets or doing things with old photographs. It's never been easier. And I would just really hope that anyone out there who's interested in technology, storytelling, would really try and give it a go and see what they think. And I really, really hope and actually strongly believe that in the next coming months, we'll start to see more and more universities encouraging students to build AR experiences, whether that's in, maybe marketing and advertising courses, in filmmaking courses, and in technology, game design, and that they can use things like Lureo to get into this new medium. So anyone out there is listening to this who hasn't tried AR, try Lureo and really, really just start to enjoy the medium straight away. So you're not limited by, learning lines of code, and you're starting to enjoy the frustrations of figuring out how do we dictate where people's attention should be and control their field of view and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. And I will put, Adele's LinkedIn link in the post. So anyone who want to connect with Adele and discussing how to turn the story into the location-based AR experience, feel free to contact Adele. And also, I want to mention that, like universally, the interesting thing is that I got brought into more higher education as adjunct professor, just like one course per 1 year. Uh, last year. And this year I just went to the Future Summit and talking to a lot of faculties. The interesting thing is that I brought like 2 panels of XR people Because I mean, the reason why people like me is because I'm so different from them. And I was impressed, like surprised. Like I thought like I need to be like a 20 years old, like teaching at the community college in order to, to be influenced in, to put influence in the community college. But I think they want more industry people in. So when I was hosting the industry panel, I just realized that all of us, we keep talking about, oh, you need to see things, like a ship 6R, we need to get in and start making things in spatial, da 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 da. It's really good, it's engaging. But later on, the interesting thing is that under the audience seat, a lot of professors just said that, my student, they don't have Wi-Fi in their home. And it's in California, it's in Silicon Valley. And I was like, yeah, I understand that we always want like the most advanced technology, but in Silicon Valley, the student didn't have Wi-Fi and they have to drive or, like in outside of Bay Area, student need to drive or like take the train to their campus to use computer because they don't have computer at home. And I saw the digital divide, and it's interesting that every time, like I host 2 panels, I saw the huge digital divide. That when we on the stage, we keep talking about like, oh, XR, AI, you need to create your own model, a lot of things, and like a Jason's company, like using AR, using XReal. He is developing XReal and HoloLens to display the data visualization. Everybody was like, wow, like it might take super long for the community college because the infrastructure is not there yet. So I remember the first time when I teach the class last year, my student, it was in person one, and I was teaching Unity, and my student just came to me and showed me his computer. His computer, when you open it, is it's all the like the broken glass of the screen, and there are RGB, and everything was cracky, and it's probably like a got smashed, And I said that, oh yeah, this is your computer. And he said, yeah, I will use this to develop like the Unity experience. And I was like, can you do a loan to, the administrator just to get a very cheap computer? And he said that I need to get a lot of part-time to get it. And also maybe he said that the trade-off is that he will, come to the campus to use the lab computer, which is outdated and chunky, and he has to, just to use the computer. So I think, I think the community college is very different from the academic 4-year community, the university. But you can see that the majority, even in California, even in Silicon Valley, a lot of I usually said that in community college or in higher education in California, it's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 1/3 early adopter, another 1/3 is staying there, not changing, and the other 1/3 is a so-called dinosaur professor who doesn't want to do anything about it. So I can see this, for the education side, it's just like like we don't know. And I know that the chancellor office is trying to move forward with a lot of AI policy. But as far as I know, the majority, or at least 50% of professors doesn't even want to have AI in their, no AI policy in their curriculum. So so I would say, interestingly, that we thought education is the inspiring industry. But whatever we are talking about, the new stuff right now, it will be implemented the next year. And there are layers. For example, one little thing you want to change, it takes 13 people to approve to get there. So so I would say that education, yes, it's they are trying to change, and with a lot of forward-thinking professor, but there's a huge majority of very outdated infrastructure and very cumbersome policy to stop them from moving forward. That's my thought, like during these 2 years, like yeah, like my thought about even in Silicon Valley. That's my
Yeah.
thought about education. Yeah.
I get that it also then makes for a lot more self-learning. And I mean, like your amazing course, Dominique, that you have on AI and XR online. So it's allowing people then maybe outside of university to have those moments where they can, in their own time, access a course that's affordable and learn about these new innovative skills because you didn't have to go through 13 people to get that course live. You were able to straight away talk about tools that had only been out for a couple of weeks. So I think it's also amazing that people like you and I and different people in the space are constantly sharing our knowledge with the community so that we can get information to people as quick as possible. As yeah, it can take a while to get into the masses if it were going down the mainstream route.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason why I did that course was because I was proposing to, to the top. And then it seems like they need promise or people to register the enroll. And for me, my question is, if you didn't put the course out there, how can you guarantee that there's enough student to enroll? Like the threshold is 20 people to enroll to open a class. And so that's why for me, I don't like to ask for permission to do everything. So I just launch on Udemy. It's like
Yeah.
I have an idea and I know student wants it during my previous course and they want XR. And then I reach out to the top and it seems like they were thinking, they were estimating, it might take a couple of years. So I just like, okay, instead of seeking for approval, I just upload to somewhere that I don't need approval. So yeah, it's very interesting to see like education, right? It's become cumbersome. And yeah, so I hope, through everybody's effort for the forward thinking faculty, we can drag the entire cumbersome system up to date. That's my thought. Yeah.
Good one.
Cool. Okay. That's it for this episode. Thank you for listening. We release episodes weekly. If you enjoyed this conversation, check out our other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Support us by giving us a follow and 5-star rating, or subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Thank you and see you next time.